The more I think about this and I look at how SMU is constructed going into the 2026 season, I can't help but think Kendrick Raphael is going to be a superstar for this team.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On SMU here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Appreciate you making us your first listen of the day, as well as us, the number one sports podcast network that is available. It's Friday. We made it to the weekend, everybody. So glad you're with me today. I'm Grayson Singleton, and our episode today is brought to you by Mazda. We put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, but putting in the work, that defines you. So stay tuned for highlights in this week's Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Coming up on the show today, SMU is going to take on a Pitt team that is awful. Why SMU should absolutely beat the you-know-what, insert whatever, into that blank. Plus, also, they've got a chance to showcase and audition for some depth. I'll talk about that to close up the show as well. But before we get to basketball and their upcoming game against Pitt, I was doing a little bit of thinking about this SMU team. And the more I think about it, the more I think SMU's offense can be really good, and it's because of Kendrick Raphael. I think Kendrick Raphael is going to be a superstar. Now, the last superstar running back that we saw at SMU was Brashard Smith. And what exactly predated Brashard Smith's explosion as an SMU running back that led him to being drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, let's go back in Brashard Smith's career. Brashard Smith spent 3 seasons at Miami and totaled no more than 180 rushing yards in 3 years. As a matter of fact, the year before he came to SMU, he carried the ball 9 times for 132 yards and a touchdown. He comes to SMU, gets it 235 times, over 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, ends up scoring 18 scrimmage touchdowns and compiling just under 1,700 scrimmage yards. So, how does this relate to Kendrick Raphael? Remember that SMU going into that season didn't even know Brashard Smith was going to be that kind of a dude. They didn't know Brashard Smith was going to be that sort of a ball carrier. They do know it with Kendrick Raphael, because Kendrick Raphael is coming in to SMU having carried the ball 232 times for 943 yards and 13 touchdowns in his last season at Cal. What does that mean? He gets an entire offseason to work with the ones, to develop synergy with Kevin Jennings and with Rhett Lashlee. There will be no question. Kendrick Raphael is your dude. That's what you brought in a guy to do, like him to do. He's going to be your dude. He's going to be the dude that you can give the ball to 230 times and say, you take us there. You are going to be one of the more, if not the most featured player on our offense. Here's my prediction for Kendrick Raphael. Kendrick Raphael is going to have over 1,400 scrimmage yards this year. I don't think it will get to what Brashard Smith's was, simply because the quarterback this year is better. Because remember, 2 years ago, that was the year you started out with Preston Stone and then made the transition to Kevin Jennings before conference play started. So there was a little bit more pressure on the running game during an acclimation period of a new starting quarterback. That's not the case anymore. But with Kendrick Raphael, I think he's going to have a similar impact that Brashard Smith had, because he is very similar in that way. He can be a 3-down back. SMU has a 3-down back now. He can catch the ball out of the backfield and make stuff happen out in space, but he can also be the dude that you give the ball to 250 times in a year. And I don't think SMU, as good as TJ Harden was, did not have that kind of a dude in 2025 that is as electric as Kendrick Raphael can be. TJ Harden was a guy that could just run over you. He was a guy that can get you 5 yards a carry, being a bruising running back. Great between the tackles, guy on first and second down that could keep you ahead of the chains, and was excellent in goal line situations. No doubt about it. TJ Harden, I liked that dude. But in Kendrick Raphael, you get that, sure. But you get the speed and the agility and the quickness and just the make you miss type of stuff that TJ Harden didn't give you. So Kendrick Raphael, I said this last week, combines the stuff that TJ Harden gave you with some of the stuff that made Chris Johnson Jr. unique, and combines that into a really good number one running back. And by virtue of that, what's going to happen is that Kevin Jennings is going to be better. That's the 1B prediction. I gave you my 1A prediction, is that Kendrick Raphael is going to have over 1,400 scrimmage yards in 2026. But Kevin Jennings is going to be better as well, because Kevin ain't going to have to do a whole lot or as much. Let me redact that. There is not going to be as much pressure on Kevin Jennings. Kendrick Raphael and what he can bring to you, explosive-wise and just balance-wise, takes so much pressure off of Kevin Jennings to the point where it's going to make him better, right? He's not going to have to do as much. He's not going to have to put on the cape like he had to time after time last season. It's not going to be that. Kevin Jennings should not have to put the cape on this year, not with that dude as his backfield mate. It's going to make everything better. I think with Kevin Jennings having another year of starting experience, I think his completion percentage is going to go up slightly. He's going to be a 69, 70% completion percentage guy. I think the interceptions are going to come down to about 7. Let's just put it at 7. Kevin Jennings throws 7 to 8 interceptions this season, which I think is going to be a solid number. And then you throw Kendrick Raphael and his ability to accumulate the scrimmage totals that I just predicted for you. It's going to make Kevin's job a lot easier, and I think he's going to be a lot better for it. And obviously, that will make SMU's offense that much better. So, that's my prediction for the new number one back in town. And then off of that, the whole offense is going to be good. Sure, you don't have established receivers at the P4 level like you did a year before. Jordan Hudson and Romello Brinson are gone. But the two tight ends, I like them. I think Yannick Smith will be able to do some good stuff for you. Jalen Cooper, we've seen him do good stuff for you at SMU. As long as the offensive line is a little above serviceable, this should be a very good SMU offense. It should be a very good SMU offense led by the man that transferred from Cal. Because in 2024, Brashard Smith and his ability to really do everything as a running back allowed Kevin Jennings to settle in and really allowed this offense to be what it was en route to making an appearance in the college football playoff. Now, sure, the defense has to get back to some semblance of that level, but I do not think that it's a coincidence that you had a running back like Brashard Smith and your offense looked like it did in 2024. And though you had a good running back room in 2025, because this is no disrespect to what TJ Harden, Chris Johnson Jr., and others did at running back for SMU, but they didn't have what they had in 2024. I don't think it's a coincidence that the offense took a little bit of a step back in 2025. I think with Kendrick Raphael, you're getting back to what that looked like in 2024. You've got a dude that you can give the ball to over 200 times in a season because he's already done it. He's already been productive, rushing for over 40 yards a carry. And because of that, he's going to get into the quadruple digits of scrimmage yards. And Kevin Jennings is going to be better for it. And SMU's offense as a whole is going to be better for that as well. I think this can be a really, really fun offense for SMU in the 2026 season. All right, coming up next here on Locked On SMU on a Friday, let's go to basketball because the Mustangs have a game tomorrow against Pitt. Please beat the hell out of these guys because they're not very good, and I'll tell you why that is next. But first, it's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. So, if you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect with them online. And they can handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and they do that while working to give you every single possible deduction. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. Just make sure you file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, welcome back to the show. Grayson Singleton here on Locked On SMU. Want to tell you guys about our Everydayer Club. It's brand new for us here at the company, and it'll help Locked On SMU and the company out a lot. So here's what you can do. All you got to do, go to the link in the show notes or lockedonsmu.supercast.com to get started with a membership that will give you access to an ad-free version of this show. That's right. Locked On SMU, ad-free, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. So great for listening to us in the car or in the gym or wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Do it without ad interruptions. Plus, you will get access to a members-only Discord server where you can hang out with other Locked On Everydayers and some of the hosts as well. So make sure you go to the link in the show notes or lockedonsmu.supercast.com to get started with the Everydayer Club. All right. Let's go to basketball here for a second, because SMU, coming off of the 1-point loss to NC State, to me proved one thing. If nothing else, I said this on Wednesday. SMU's a good team. They are a good team. There is a difference between the really, really good teams and the good teams. And SMU right now is in the list of good teams. They will make the tournament. That's not up for discussion, at least at this moment in time. And they'll have a top 9 seed. Now, they are taking on a Pitt team that is objectively not good. They're not a good team. Pitt this year, for one, they're coming off of a couple of losses right now, so that's how they're trending. But obviously, they are 9-14. They are last in the conference. SMU needs to beat the living crap out of this Pitt team. They need to beat them for a number of reasons. Number one, SMU is averaging 15, almost 16 points per game more per game than Pitt. I mean, it's a complete offensive mismatch. Pitt is one of the worst offensive teams in the ACC in almost every category, and they're near the bottom of the ACC in almost every defensive category. But SMU needs to just completely beat the crap out of Pitt for a couple of reasons. Number one, they have got to get some swagger back. And during the beginning of the year, especially running into that North Carolina game that they won to open conference play, there was a swagger about this SMU team. And even though they've gotten wins since then, it just seems like they're just coming by the skin of your teeth, and it just doesn't feel all that right. They haven't gotten wins over teams that would, make them look good. Obviously, they hung with Duke, and that was great, but they couldn't beat Clemson on the road. It took a buzzer beater to beat Virginia Tech, a team that is not expected to be in the tournament. And you dropped a game to NC State that was very, very winnable, the epitome of winnable. So they haven't done anything to really feel excited about. And while beating Pitt doesn't, in and of itself, give you anything to be excited about, you know what makes guys really smile is when you're up by 20 with 4 minutes left, and then in the next 30 seconds or so, the starters are going to be on the bench, getting a head start on their rest, and everybody else can finish it off. That's what gives the vibes those corrections. So if you're looking for a win that can really go a long way just toward getting some good vibes, we see a lot of stressed out Andy Enfield. We see a lot of Andy Enfield yapping at officials for one reason or another. Everything just seems a little bit tight. It just seems like this SMU basketball team is in a straitjacket. And I would venture to reason that it's because over these last few games, you got a great win over Wake Forest, but you only won by 3 to a Florida State team you probably should have beaten by more. You lost by 14 at Louisville. Then you dropped the game on Tuesday night to NC State. There needs to be something to smile about. And if they can take care of business and handily take care of business, especially on the road at Pitt, that would go a long way to correcting some of these vibes, because that's going to really carry you through the rest of the season. The second thing is that some of you in the comments, some of you in the fan base fall into this category. A lot of people are questioning whether SMU is good. And it's not coming from me. It's also not me being a homer to say that this team is a good team. I mean, I know what a good basketball team looks like. And SMU is a good basketball team. Don't get me wrong. It is a team that is leading the conference in scoring. There are ways in which and spots in which they look like they are improving defensively, but this is a good team. And they're, again, going to be a top 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. But there are a lot of people questioning whether this is a good team. You want to know what fuels questions like that? Going on the road to Pitt and winning 82-80. Like, this should be, and I haven't looked at the betting lines quite yet. I will look at them now as I am talking. But this is not a game that should be all that close. If you want to reestablish faith that you are a bona fide good team, go play another team that isn't on your level and absolutely decimate them. Now, before I go any further, I feel the need to say this, that, well, it's still college basketball and, it's grown men playing against grown men. Anything can happen. Obviously, yes, I'm aware of that. But there are levels to this. And SMU has proven that they are on another level that is superior to where Pitt is right now. Again, Pitt is the worst team in the ACC based on the standings. Now, for those two reasons, vibes and inspiring outside confidence is why the Mustangs need to win this game. But ultimately, the latter, this last reason, is going to be the one that carries them throughout the rest of the year, and that is habits. Can they establish good fundamental basketball, repeat it over and over again, and do it with success? And then I start to think, because you've ventured away from those things at times against Louisville and NC State, and it's ultimately cost you. But I do think that if you do that over and over again, and you start to see it work consistently and consistently and consistently, that will carry you through the rest of the year, because you know your stuff works. And that's ultimately what's going to potentially be a differentiator between you winning one game in the ACC tournament and winning multiple games in the ACC tournament, and maybe boosting your stock for the NCAA tournament in terms of a higher seed. So, 3 reasons why SMU needs to win this game by double digits. Like, win it by double digits over Pitt. We need better vibes. We just need better, looser vibes. Can we stop the questions about SMU being a good basketball team? And then can we repeat habits and be successful and see success doing it? Because that's what's going to propel you for the rest of the season. Those three reasons, I think, is why SMU needs to beat the ever-loving crap out of Pitt. And I'm not meaning by 30, but they need to win this game and win it decisively, so there is no question as to who the better team was on that afternoon when SMU takes on Pitt at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. All right, coming up next, this game also is big for Andy Enfield's depth for the rest of the year. Talk about that to close up the show here on a Friday on Locked On SMU. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. And, one of the things as I watched a litany of sports throughout the week is I noticed in the Oklahoma City-San Antonio game that the Thunder hung close with San Antonio with all 5 of their starters out of the game. All 5 of them unavailable due to injury. But guys like Kendrick Williams and guys like Aaron Wiggins really kept the Thunder in it, and it was a 4-point game with about 4 minutes left to go before San Antonio ultimately fended off Oklahoma City. But in terms of work and team camaraderie and everybody being ready and all the behind-the-scenes stuff showing in that game, Oklahoma City put on a masterclass, moving the Thunder forward to where fans now can realize if 1 or 2 of our starters are out, we can still be competitive night in and night out. These moments remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, and that grit that says, I won't quit. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. Because there's more to a Mazda. Because there's more to you. All right. Let's close things up here on Locked On SMU. By the way, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out a lot here on Locked On SMU and the Locked On Podcast Network. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Those of you on the audio side, make sure you rate us and review us and make your way over to YouTube at some point and give us a subscribe and a like as well on Locked On SMU's YouTube channel. Okay, this game for SMU is also big for depth because if SMU's depth can't do anything productive, in this game against Pitt, again, the worst teams by record in the conference, then the Mustangs might be cooked. They just might be cooked when it comes to this season in terms of whether or not they're going to be able to expect any depth. So right now, where we are this season, Jaden Toombs is the leading scorer off the bench at 7.2 points per game. Jermaine O'Neal's at 5 points a game, Sam Walters at 3, Mitchell Holmes at 2.3, BJ Davis-Ray at 1.5. So they don't get anything from their bench, hardly. Of the 86 points per game, 86.5 points per game that SMU scores, all but, let's call it, 2, 3, 6, 11, 18. All but 18, let's make it 19 points per game to be generous, comes from the starters. And for a team that is looking to go deep in an ACC tournament or looking to go into the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, that is unsustainable. Completely unsustainable. Right now, SMU does not have any bench. Now, here's some encouraging things. I thought Sam Walters played well in his role against NC State. Thought he knocked down a couple of buckets. Thought he was active on defense, even though Sam Walters isn't a great defender. I thought he was active there. I thought he was active going after rebounds and just keeping plays alive and whatnot. So I thought Walters did well. I thought Jermaine O'Neal played a decently good game against NC State with his 9 points. Hit a couple of shots, was high flying and around the basket, running the lanes, running the floor defensively. I thought he was really good. So, there's something for those two to build on. Jaden Toombs, I just continue to want to see progression after progression after progression. And this game on Saturday is the game for it. It 100% is, because there is one inevitable about basketball, and that is you cannot play just 5 guys. Like, Andy Enfield can't run out there the entire game with Boopy, BJ, Jerron Pierre, Corey Washington, and Sabet Igatolu. You can't. You cannot do that. That is a well-known fact of all facts about basketball. Eventually, you will have to play 7 or 8 guys. And you don't want to end up like Kansas did last year, where there's only 6 guys that you can trust. So, in this game against Pitt, these bench guys are going to have their opportunity to get some run. They 100% will, because you have to. What are you going to do? Because if they can't perform and provide productivity against Pitt, then we're cooked for the rest of the season. Because there's no worse team that is on your schedule for the rest of the season than Pitt, who is the last place team currently in the ACC. So, it's a Pitt team that does not defend very well. They allow opponents to shoot a nice percentage from 3. They allow opponents to shoot a nice percentage from the field. So, what's stopping Jermaine O'Neal from going out there, and again, depending on the flow of the game, don't want to force anything, but what's stopping Jermaine O'Neal from getting 11 points? What's stopping a guy like Sam Walters from knocking down 3 threes in the game? What's stopping a guy like Jaden Toombs from not having 12 points and 6 rebounds? Because it's not just all in the raw numbers. Remember that. It's not just all in the raw numbers. You got to factor in flow of the game and whatnot. And the one thing that you definitely don't want your bench guys doing is forcing stuff. You don't want them to force and get out of character and get out of the flow of the game. Everything has to be judged by the flow of the game. But the ball's going to find Sam Walters in the corner. Jermaine O'Neal's athleticism and the way SMU moves the basketball is going to afford him opportunities to see what type of decisions he makes, how assertive he is, and if he can take advantage of a potential mismatch or being out in the open floor. Jaden Toombs is going to get down in there, and he's going to have his opportunities to go one-on-one on the block. He's going to have his opportunities to shoot the ball from the outside, and he's always going to have opportunities to get in there and rebound. So, what do those guys do? And for Andy Enfield, this has to be the game where you really find out which guys I can send out there on my own volition and which guys I send out there just because I got to give somebody a blow. I think those guys on the bench could potentially fall into one of those categories if they haven't done so already, because we're over 20 games into the season. But this game against Pitt, your second lineup guys should be a lot better than some of those guys on Pitt, and maybe even some of the starters. Now, they're young. Some of them are young. Jermaine O'Neal Jr., Jaden Toombs, they're freshmen. But those guys need to give you something. They need to be efficient, they need to be active, and they need to show that they can be an asset to this basketball team for the remainder of the regular season and into the postseason tournament. Because, again, you do not want to be stuck with only 5 guys that you can trust. It's a bad position to be in if you're a basketball team. So if they can get to where, at minimum, Toombs and O'Neal show some really good productivity and efficiency, we're in a good spot. If you can't, we'll have another conversation on Monday, and we might have problems. But this game against this caliber of team should afford you the opportunity to let the leash off a little bit and really let these dudes see what they can do. And if it's a positive answer, we're great. If it's not, looks like we have to run out with 3 or 4 guys playing 34 minutes a night. And it's not going to be fun the rest of the way because fatigue is going to start to set in at some point. All right, that'll do it for Locked On SMU here on this Friday. This will wrap up another week of Locked On SMU. And make sure, if you're one of those that never miss an episode, to tap into our Everydayer Club, ad-free audio feed for our show, plus members-only Discord access. Check it out at lockedonsmu.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. For your second listen of the day on YouTube, make sure you check out our Locked On Podcast Network National 24/7 YouTube channel. For those of you on audio, make sure you make Locked On College Football your second listen of the day. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great